Darren's dead. Earl is,
Oh yeah. Yeah, fuck you, Darren.
Earl for life.
Earl for life. Love the mud. Hashtag love the mud. Get it trending.
I don't think we have enough.
Hey,
Okay.
use your bot accounts. I know you don't have them. Hello.
Howdy.
I thought I was going to go first.
It's off to a good start.
Hello, and welcome to the second of 3 episodes.
Wait, what? Oh, because we did not make an episode.
Or I guess
first
a
album.
third of 2. I don't know where I was going with that.
This is episode 2 of the Lesser Funk series. This episode we did with our good friend Darren Clay / Earl Mudd.
Is he letting us put that secret out there?
Who knows?
We'll censor that if he asks us to.
He is he's from the Detroit area band Unknown Crow. They're kind of like a doom stoner band with a fair amount of blues influence.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good, very energetic live.
Oh yeah, they're a lot of fun live.
Check them out if you have a chance. I'm pretty sure they have stuff up online.
Yeah, they're planning on releasing an album soon, which is cool. I'm excited about that.
As far as why we picked Darren for this, I think both of us just felt comfortable with his playing style.
Yeah.
We're personally comfortable with him. He's a very nice guy, and something I don't know if we totally knew ahead of time, but he ended up having a lot of the same tendencies that Blake and I do, as far as jamming.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of picked that up just based off of watching him play in various bands.
Yeah, Swamp Jug.
Rip. So this time around was interesting because we actually had a much larger mic setup. We had I think we used 12 or so mics this time. I can't remember the exact number, but we have mics, like a standard mic placement for the drums, three bass inputs, and 2 guitar mics.
Yeah, the guitar was one close mic, one a little bit farther away. We didn't have, pretty much every mic was a room mic.
There's a lot of bleed.
Yeah.
And then we had high-end bass, a low-end bass mic, and then a DI.
Yeah, the DI is really good for getting a good attack, even if you have something like a fuzz that's obscuring a lot of the nuance of the guitar signal. So, as far as the bleed, I can't say you wouldn't know, but it sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds fine. I mean, it kind of limits what we could do with a lot of the editing.
Yeah, there was the last song in this. We'll talk about that later. We wanted to cut the bass and drums and just have the guitar playing, and we did our best, but you can still hear the drums in the background kind of picking up, and the bass as well.
And this time around we used Reaper instead of Ableton,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is a much better DAW for recording. It just seems more set up for that.
Yeah, and we used a legal, paid-for copy of Ableton to mix.
Yep. Spent all that money. It's really a shame. We could have used it for coke and strippers, but we used it for being good boys.
So aside from the mics and the recording, the DAW that we used this time, we had Sydney Bunden Photography doing still photography and a little bit of moving around video. I don't even know what you would call that. I guess video.
It was actually, she was just really fast taking pictures.
Yeah, she took 24 pictures every second.
Yeah, she's really good at it.
It's amazing.
She's got great fingers for taking pictures. Anyway, moving on. I think similar to our last 2 albums, we also had problems at the beginning because we were all kind of nervous, but it faded as we went on.
Yeah.
As we got more comfortable, got more into the music. And it really helped because we did actually mesh very well with Darren.
I think it was interesting because the very first jam we did, that was actually just part of the sound check essentially. was really good, and then the next 10 or so minutes were just kind of like really shaky, and I'm pretty sure we even cut a lot of that stuff.
We cut almost all of it out.
Yeah, well, I mean, even before we started mixing the songs Quest and Run and Walk, I think there was a large chunk that we decided we're not even going to bother spending time mixing this.
Yeah. I think it had to do with the fact that neither of you knew I was recording, necessarily. And
that's probably it.
I didn't think we were going to keep it, because we almost never keep the warm-up jams.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where the pressure of it being final, or
relatively final.
Yeah.
Especially when we literally had never played together in this orientation before.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever played with Darren ever.
Yes, yeah, I don't think we have.
So
that's true.
But that's part of the fun of this.
Yeah, that first song we called Ma. The entire kind of overarching concept, I guess, which is kind of weird to say because it's all improv, but the overarching concept is that there's this group of people, I guess it's me, Matt, and Darren, who are put on a quest to rob a train in space. And the first song is us getting to the mothership for the quest. So it has this very warm feeling to it, very peaceful, and that's kind of the feeling I was getting when we were listening to it.
Yeah, and I suppose you could even interpret the very ending of this song as us like docking in the mothership, because there's a lot of like odd sounds, and that maybe that's the sound of the cargo bay of the ship, of mechanics working on different ships that have docked there.
I wouldn't go that far, but you could.
I did. What else do we have to say about this?
We added a repeated rhythm, like we cut the drums up and repeated them so that it created somewhat of a, I guess, electronic drum beat almost, but with real samples. I don't know. But it's actually really hard to notice. I'm really happy with the way that turned out.
Yeah, if you want to try to listen for it, it's the part in the first song where there is like a filter sweep sort of coming out of nowhere. That song turned out really well. I'm overall really happy with it.
Yeah. With the second one, I feel like it was just on the border of not being good enough to actually have in the album.
This song Quest and the song after it, Run/Walk, we ended up cutting. It was kind of spurred on by me. I sort of felt like it let a lot of the things that we tend to do a lot get old before they had a chance to show themselves in the later songs, and I think the later songs were done a lot better. So it was one of those things where we sort of disagreed, but Blake was more indifferent than anything about it.
I really just didn't want to work on them more because there were a lot of issues with those songs.
As far as the mixing,
like the bass didn't have any presence. The drums were too far back. I think the guitar was too loud or something like that. And I didn't like the songs enough to actually go back and finish them.
Yeah, so apathy saves the day.
Apathy and laziness. The breakfast of champions.
So Quest is a little bit like the song Hubris, in that it starts with a filter sweep to intro the song.
Hubris, by the way, is the hub if this were an RPG or something like that. It's kind of what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. It's where they go to get on the train. It's the train hub, essentially. But also, it spells hubris, if you didn't notice. If you don't know what that means, Google it.
I can't really recall much about the song because we don't have downloads of it with us right now.
So professional.
And, I think that sort of speaks to the song being forgettable in a way.
Yeah.
There were a couple cool things that I think we did. We took a guitar part from a section that we were cutting out and laid that over some guitar that was already happening to sort of give this cool overdubbed effect. And it was extremely dissonant, which is something that I like, and I kind of wish we could have kept the song just for that. But again, I feel like it just was a worse version of some of the later songs we did.
Yeah.
So Run and Walk were essentially one song, and it again is kind of one of those things that we did later on, but I think better. It starts off heavy, and there's like this driving rhythm, and then it drops down into something more spacey and ethereal. Hence, the name Run/Walk. We didn't even write down anything about this song.
I think it was pretty straightforward. We didn't really do much work on it.
Now onto the songs that you are actually able to hear if you listen to the album. Hubris, probably my second favorite song that we did out of this whole thing. It has a bluesy guitar intro with a really cool filter sweep.
We used the filter sweep to cut out the other instruments because there's a lot of instrument bleed. So even if we turned down all those microphones, you would still be able to hear all of the other instruments. So it really wasn't effective. So we had to do some editing to make it more impactful.
Yeah, and I remember we spent a good deal of time just trying to get the drums to come in at the right spot with the with like the double hit that you hear right when they come in. I think just that alone was like 15 minutes to get the intro to sound right, but I think that's a good part of what makes the song nice. And it goes for one 12-bar blues progression before dropping down, and I think it's still doing blues for one more progression, but it's much slower and more spacey.
And I think that part where it drops down is actually really it really shows how well we meshed with Darren, because I just slowed down the tempo out of nowhere. And both Matt and Darren are able to almost perfectly keep up.
That's one of those fun things about playing with good musicians. There's these like almost telepathic moments where you're like, how the fuck did we all just agree on that? Like no one said anything, no one gave a nod. It's just like everyone's on the same wavelength.
Yeah, even if you haven't really played with them before, it still happens. It's really cool.
And then slightly after the drop in energy, I just start playing a very minimalist bass riff with only one or two notes, and I stay on that for maybe 2 or 3 minutes and just let Darren do his thing. Later on, we went through and added some delay to it to make it a little more interesting, because
it just sounded cooler.
Yeah, and also Darren didn't have a delay pedal, so I think it's what he would have wanted. So one other thing that I wanted to mention was that the delay we used with Darren in Ableton had a weird specificity to it where you could only control the delay length in 16th notes, which I mean, I suppose you could just change the tempo in Ableton to have that be any speed you want, but I sort of like having to work with the limitation
of the tempo we didn't set.
Yeah, and only being able to have it as as fast as 1/16th note or as slow as 16/16th notes. So that was fun, if a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, it somehow came out really well. It always does with the Ableton, because they're gods or something, I don't know. Or Jesus, one of the two.
And then once everything broke back in from that spacey section, it came back into the heavier section just as smoothly as it went into the spacey section. I went from playing the minimalist thing with only a couple notes to doing a blues progression, and then after I got back from the 5 and the 4, Blake just broke right in, and everyone just got loud again. We went through one 12-bar progression with Darren doing like a typical kind of blues solo, and then the second half he was doing a bunch of really cool noise stuff. So we decided to add an auto panning to it, which made it sort of drowned it out a little bit in the mix. It made it kind of hard to hear, but if you have headphones on, it has a kind of a cool effect.
I mean, auto panning always sounds better when you have headphones on.
Yeah.
Just listen to music with headphones, it's better. And was this the next song? Was Train Station Fight the one where it had the hard cut between Hubris and Train Station?
It wasn't a hard cut.
Where was the hard cut?
We put the split between the songs pretty much at the lowest point, of this whole jam. It was essentially one song, but we decided to split it up into two for no reason whatsoever. I think Blake just thought it was fitting.
Or something.
Yeah. This song starts off pretty low-key and then has a slow build that feels like it's going somewhere. And then after about a minute, you're wondering where's this gonna go? And then it just cuts right in to a completely separate part that we just sliced right next to it.
Like a punch
Yeah.
in a fight, possibly at a train station.
Oh shit.
It's called metagaming.
Once the song sort of dies down from the heavier section, I'm not even sure how to describe what this part is, but I remember being very proud of the bass line that I was playing during this. It's like a really cool, dissonant thing. All clean, no distortion, no delay, no anything.
It's been clean for 2 whole minutes. It had this sporadic ending with the drums, which I thought sounded really cool. I think it sounded cool because no one else was playing, so we had this kind of just basically had a bunch of room mics around for the drums because no one else was playing.
Mm-hmm.
So it made the drums sound huge.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
And then leading up to the ending part, there was this long 3-minute build of me just playing the same 3 chords over and over again. It just got more and more intense until eventually we all just sort of agreed, like, all right, this is the end, and let it fade out. And then again, it got to that point where Blake was just doing like sporadic drum fills. Definitely one of the highlights of the album.
And now to talk about the copyright infringement. It's Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
2.
There was some chatter in the room right before the last song. I wasn't totally sure if we were going to do any more because I was so happy with how Train Station Fight went.
Yeah.
I would have been totally fine just not doing anything else, but I'm glad we did because this actually ended up being a really good closer to the album.
Yep.
And we were talking in the beginning about doing another one, and Darren said, "How about a cowboy jam?" I didn't really know what he meant by that at all. I still don't totally know.
Well, you shouldn't have taken all that ketamine then.
Yeah, I mean, the ketamine, the heroin, I think, might have been the bigger issue.
Well, they kind of cancel each other out, don't they?
No.
I mean, one starts with an H and one starts with a K. H and K's, they cancel each other out. That's why they have that gun brand, H and K.
One other thing I want to add to the talk about Train Station Fight, the very end where Darren plays that chord, I guess it's an arpeggio at that point, either way. I wanted to keep that specifically because it reminded me of this King Crimson song, Sailor's Tale, from their album Islands, where everything is like very dissonant, and then sort of out of nowhere there comes this nice major chord, and it feels like jarringly resolving. The last song, Interstellar Train Robbery, sort of just happened because Darren seemed to want to play another song. I wasn't totally sure if we were even going to do another one because Train Station Fight went so well, in my opinion.
Yep.
I didn't totally know if we needed to go on, but Darren wanted to do a cowboy jam. We decided to leave in a little bit of the talk in the beginning of it, just because
a little. Because we wanted to call Darren out. We wanted to get his voice on the album, be the first voice you hear.
Yeah.
On a Lesser Funk. It's gotta be Darren. It's gotta be Earl, Mr. Earl.
The first vocal track ever
in existence in time.
This song just ended up being a really good ending to the album, I think. I'm really glad we ended up doing it because it has this long build that doesn't even have drums or bass for a while. The drums and bass sort of come in out of nowhere, get the thing rolling even more and more and more. The delay gets cut out of the guitar, and it starts driving, and then it breaks into the main robbery of the train, I suppose.
The boarding of the train, if you will.
Yeah, and from there, it's like a slow, it's like coasting to a stop almost.
Like they killed the conductor.
Yeah, and it's just a really nice, relaxing ending. One little touch I like that we did is we didn't fade the ending out. We just cut it right there, even with a lot of the noise happening from the room and from my DI box. Stuff like that I think is kind of cool. It gives it sort of a homegrown aesthetic. It's nice. When we went to export these,
I fucked up.
Hubris and Train Station Fight didn't have any volume when I went to listen to them after they'd been exported. And I went back in to check what the problem was, and it was that when we went to fade in to Interstellar Train Robbery, that essentially cut the volume for the first two tracks. So that was confusing for a second, and that also meant that I had to re-export the first two tracks.
And with Mass Computer, it takes a long fucking time.
Yeah.
This is the best album we recorded so far.
Yeah, it was
in every possible way.
Yeah, it was the most fun. It was
the best sounding.
We had we had the most control over how things sounded, and I think the drums. I had a bit of a worry that the drums wouldn't sound as cool because for some reason I was worried that with us having more mics, it wouldn't allow us to get the same like hyper compressed sound that we had before. The same kind of sound that Orb gets on their albums.
I'd like to read a poem. Squats, push-ups, B9, B12, sleep, Whole Foods, vitamin D. That's just my work schedule. Okay. We're done. Bye.